It is time for us to have a conversation on parenting this morning on Wake Up Nigeria. And we are discussing why readiness matters more than age, focusing on a child's emotional, social, and cognitive development with multidisciplinary expert, Ochuko Prudence Daniels. It is a pleasure to have you here with us.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
All right, so readiness versus age. You know, there was a time back in the days, in 18? I don't even know, I wasn't born then. But you had to do this before you could go to school, right?
Right.
And if your hand couldn't reach it, if you like, be 8 years old and you are short, you will stay till you are 15. And if you keep being like that, oh, you lost school. However, these days, you see even a 6-month-old in creche, and sometimes the child is being put in the chair where children who are older are learning, so the child starts soaking it in. Parents have to work. Different factors, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, when it comes to age versus readiness, what is your take on it?
Okay, so let's put it this way. Age is traditional, chronological age for school readiness is traditional. Why developmental readiness is Montessori, because that has to do with the total child. And when we speak about the total child, we're speaking all round, physical, mental, emotional, and cognitive. And those aspects of development are shaped first by the child's first environment. That's the adults around the child, the experiences the child goes through, the emotional experiences as well, general experiences that the child encounter while embracing the world. These are the factors that actually determine the child's readiness. And so when we speak about emotional readiness, a child should be able to separate from parents. Do they separate peacefully from parents? If you have a very clinging child that is not able to let go, you know that that child is not ready, because emotionally they will struggle. A lot of parents think that the faster the better, like they want
the earlier the better.
The earlier the better.
Yeah.
They want
Catch
to
them young.
Exactly. They want to accelerate, push the child. These can backfire because the outcome of rushing a child results many times in stress during learning, anxiety, and even emotional breakdown. It also slows down the child's cognitive development, because when a child struggles to learn, the brain interprets it as a stressor. And so they react to, just like anybody will react to any kind of stress naturally. Yeah, and then I'm thinking about when a child is going through that kind of stress, what is the outcome? In the society, you eventually have an unbalanced adult, because we are, as adults, we are the product of our childhood.
Absolutely.
Whatever the child produces as a child is what results in the adult. So when you have emotionally unstable adults, people with anger issues, lack of soft skills like emotional intelligence, you can already think about their foundation. And parents think that they're actually doing their children good by rushing them forwards to into academic lifestyle, but that's not true. We need to step back a little bit. That's also, we need to talk about the conversation. We need to speak about a situation where the child is even better off in the school environment than the home. So we're talking about very young children now, but it goes into the teenage life. There's so much teenage suicide happening now in our society, which didn't happen before. And so that tells you about the extra anxiety, extra pressure that parents put on their children.
You know, it's interesting you would mention that. I'm currently watching a Korean series titled Sky Castle that has to do with parents and the expectations regarding results from their children. And it has more to do with grades. Now, I've always been of the opinion that a child should just make the most of their lives, because that was the way I was raised. No pressure, just ensure that you make the most of your life. And when I look at, you know, the way many parents put expectations on their children, I find it worrisome, because at age 19, for example, some children, they have parents that are thriving and all, but they do not want to even hear the word school because of all the pressure that has been placed on them. Now, when you look at preparedness versus readiness, in China, I was reading a report recently where it says that parents choose for their children in China, because you as a child cannot determine yourself. That's their belief. And so later you will grow into that choice they've given you, which is what our parents used to, a lot of parents used to practice in the past. So I'm bringing it and marrying it to what you just said now about preparedness and readiness. Is it not the parents that will determine for the child? Or is it a case of, what's it called again? Child-led parenting?
Yes, it should actually be child-led parenting. Child-led parenting in the sense that every child has the capacity to develop themselves emotionally, socially, and otherwise. As long as you offer the child the tools to do so and allow the child to carry on with those. Because there is a natural gifting from God for every child. So for example, when the fetus is formed in the womb, who goes there to feed and nurture it? So it's the same way when the child comes out, we as adults are only guides, we're support to help the child navigate, you know, through life. We kind of like introduce the world to them, not dictate the world they live or structure the world for their lives.
So do you agree with the Chinese assertion that parents should choose for their children?
I do not agree, because the child, it's a unique personality. Every individual is different. We kind of do that here too, because if you were born a Muslim, you grow up a Muslim until maybe later in life, if you decide not to be a Muslim, your parents will consider you as a rebel. Same as Christianity, same as like all of these other sects like Jehovah's Witness. And so when you look at an adult's life, you can already trace it to their background. When you hear a little about their background, their foundation, that tells you a whole lot about where they're coming from. So I really think that, so let me tell you something we do in Montessori. In religion, for example, we open up the child to understand religion from different perspectives of the world. Like, we are a Christian school as a school, but we let the child know about Muslim religion. It exists, and they will meet it out there. The Hindu, the whatever religion that is existing, you open it up for the child to be able to assess that they know about this thing. So when they go out there, it's not shocking to them. When I left my primary location, I grew up in Delta State, and when I came to the West, it was a bit shocking for me that everything was really Muslim in some aspect of the West, and it took me some level of adapting to do to be able to, let me say, be global. You know, we are raising global citizens, and we must equip them with the tools that they need to thrive as global citizens. So I do not agree to parents dictating their life, their children's life pace or structured living. I would expect that every parent, even two children from the same family, aren't the same.
Of course.
And so you must, as a parent, put in the extra effort to understand the individuality of your child and provide resources for them to thrive.
I'm actually quite glad you mentioned that individuality.
Yep.
But how do parents figure it out? You know, you're at home with your child. You go to work as well. You have your child, right? And then your child goes to crash or something. You are not, you maybe as a parent, you're thinking, oh, this child is too young. I'm not ready to put the child in school and let the child start learning. But then perhaps the child minder or carer keeps telling you that this child is smart, knows numbers even without being taught, maybe from watching YouTube videos and all. And so how do you as a parent manage that kind of situation? Because You keep being told, oh, you're pushing the child too fast. But what if the child himself or herself is fast? The genius.
Yeah, so the child, some parents, especially in the West, internationally I'm speaking now, set up like a nursery at home where they have play-based activities for the child to explore.
But how many people can afford that?
So, again, it can be brought to earth, like it can be brought home. Use what you have to make your child develop organically. So, Maria Montessori had an experience where she was working with mentally deranged children who didn't have access to toys or anything in the hospital, but they had crumbs from the food that they ate, and they turned them into functional toys. They molded shapes and all kinds of things, and that was part of how Montessori actually came to be. So why I said children have the capacity to lead themselves, to develop themselves, to evolve, is because it is natural, it's given. And so whether the child has facilities or they will create it, it's adaptability. One of the human tendencies of life, everyone has it, is the ability to adapt. So if we took a child from here to any other country like China or the US, the child organically flows into the culture, it absorbs the culture of that environment and becomes like part of them. The only difference is probably the color of their skin that you can tell from the genes of where they're coming from. But otherwise, the child has the capacity to be who they want to be, and it doesn't have to be written, it doesn't have to be structured. You just provide natural ways of helping this child to grow and be who they want to be. So when you're talking about children who maybe you can observe them from, you observe. You can also seek out schools that promote these ideals rather than just put them in a structured, you must learn, you must learn. I have a few parents who were agitated this last term, and they wanted to move their children to a traditional school where they have a lot of academic activities. Yeah, but the fact remains that children will react. And so the children were already saying, oh, we don't want it here, we don't, and they had to go back. You know, so when you give the opportunity for the child to evolve, they will do it organically without struggle. But when you begin to structure, you must do this and push them, rush them, what that does, it kills their interest. It puts them under pressure. It stresses them out, and they lose something very valuable. What is that? The ability to develop a lifelong learning culture or lifestyle. Because as humans, we always want to be oriented. We're curious. Yes, that's the curiosity is damaged. But when the child has the opportunity to explore, to demonstrate that they are humans, bring into being all of their human tendencies, the child evolves beautifully. They are able to acquire a lifelong learning skill. You don't tell them to pick a book. They are already curious about picking a book. You don't tell them to read. You don't tell them your mates are writing essays. No, it happens organically, especially if the first 6 years is well nurtured. And what I mean by well nurtured is given the opportunity to be a child, play-based, no unnecessary validation, allow the child to celebrate themselves from within and see the work that they are doing. As a parent, be your child's best support, like a hero. You know, you are there for them, you are listening to them, and you are communicating with them all the time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ochuko Prudence Daniels. There's always something to learn when you're here. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you, you did. All right, at this point, we will take a break. You're watching Wake Up Nigeria. Stay with us. We really hope you've learned a thing or two. We'll be right back.